Easter Monday. The investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server enters a new phase today, as sources familiar with the probe are indicating that federal prosecutors have begun the process of setting up formal interviews with some of her closest aides. No dates have been set for questioning yet, but prosecutors are eventually expected to seek an interview with Mrs. Clinton herself. Joining us right now is Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, good to see you.
Oh, good morning, Maria. Good morning, team.
What does this new phase mean?
It means that the FBI is more or less completed with its gathering of raw evidence, and it has corroborated that evidence. That is, it has gathered it, and it has sourced it, and has verified the sources for the evidence, and it is approaching the second to last phase. The second to last phase is to invite in to speak with them the people who know the most about this, but who could be targets. That is, they could be potential defendants themselves.
Right.
The FBI can't order them in. The FBI invites them in. They are not under oath, but if they speak, they must tell the truth. As we all know from the Martha Stewart case, it is a crime, it is a felony to lie to an FBI agent when you're having a formal conversation. You're not saying hello on the subway. They're asking you questions and you're answering.
An actual interview.
Correct. It's an actual interview. It's very, very treacherous. And most white-collar criminal defense lawyers will not let their clients, no matter how ardent the client's wish is to tell his or her story to the FBI, to do so, because you don't know. The lawyer and the aide, in this case, Clinton's aides,
right,
do not know what the FBI knows about them, and it could very well be a trap.
Right, and this is the point that I was making last week, because I had heard that they were zeroing in on Mrs. Clinton herself, that the FBI never finishes an investigation without actually speaking to the actual subject, being Hillary Clinton. Have they asked her to do an interview yet?
I don't believe they have. They may complete an investigation without speaking to the subject, but they do not complete an investigation without asking the subject to come in.
Exactly.
Now, she has a damned if you do and damned if you don't choice.
So she may say, no, I don't want to speak to you.
Well, she's already said many, many times, quote, I can't wait to speak to the FBI. Now, when she says that, that's a lie. The FBI knows it's a lie.
Yeah,
nobody can't wait to speak to the FBI. When you're a potential criminal defendant, and you don't know what they have.
But she could say, look, her lawyer could say, look, I don't want my client to, hurt her chances or implicate her, so we're just going to have to say no.
If she says no, that is the prudent legal advice.
That's right.
But politically, it would be catastrophic for her because of her public promises that she goes in. On the other hand, if she overrules her lawyers and goes in, she's walking into a pit. She's walking into a very, very dangerous environment in which they are determined to find inconsistencies in her story.
So before anything happens where the FBI wants to interview her or request for an interview for her, don't you think they're going to have to give more immunity to other members of her team? I mean, we've already had a member of her team get immunity. He was the guy that installed the server.
Yeah.
So won't that elongate?
Pagliano.
Yeah, exactly. Won't that elongate
It's really
this process?
up to the FBI and the federal prosecutors to whom they want to give immunity. And obviously, I don't know their case the way they do. They know much better what their case is. The idea with immunity is to minimize it. That is, not to grant it broadly, but to grant it narrowly, just to the right person. Brian Pagliano is the person who Bill and Hillary paid $5,000. Not a lot of money, but $5,000 to install the server in their home in Chappaqua. That involved the following: migrating 2 email accounts. A public State Department account to which anybody could email in the State Department, even the public could email to it, and a secret State Department email account. You had to migrate the 2 of them away from the State Department without the State Department's knowledge to her server in Chappaqua. Mr. Pagliano, how did you gain access to Mrs. Clinton's secret State Department email stream? She gave me her password. She gave you her password? She already signed an agreement saying she wouldn't give the password away to anybody when she had her 2-hour FBI tutorial explaining to her her obligations to safeguard national security secrets and how she could be prosecuted whether she intentionally exposed them or negligently exposed them, and how she had the affirmative legal duty to recognize a secret when she saw one.
And Pagliano was just a private guy, or he worked for the State Department, or what?
He worked for her campaign. He worked for her presidential campaign. He worked for her senatorial campaign. He worked for the Clinton Foundation, and then he worked for the State Department.
Do you remember when she went through this whole process in the beginning where she gave a press release or press statement at the UN, and she's like, I just did it out of convenience. It was more convenient. Here we go. She's sidestepping the State Department, right? I mean,
It's a very good point, Kevin, and it's the type of inconsistency that the FBI thrives on, asking her questions where they know she's going to give an answer that is defied by the evidence. That could expose her, like Martha Stewart, to another felony, lying to an FBI. It is not a crime for the FBI to lie to her in these interviews.
You answered my question.
Why? The FBI can lie to you in an interview.
Yes, but it is a crime for her to lie to the FBI.
Why would the FBI lie to you?
They're trying to get you to say something.
Well, this is the classic. This is the classic Martha Stewart case. Her lawyer says to the FBI agent, "Is my client a target?" The FBI agent says no. Then he asks her client, and she lies. He didn't get prosecuted. Only she did.
I saw that on Law and Order.
Well, I mean, come on. Everything you say
how you learn your law?
can and will be used against you. It's never used for you, right? I mean, that's kind of how these things work, right?
This is a bucket of scorpions, man.
Wow. And don't the Democrats want to know before they get too close to their nomination process if she's going to be a criminal defendant?
Look, and did you see the story in the Journal this morning? At the bottom of the below the fold, Biden-Clinton friction hangs over campaign. It's like the Dems are just waiting to see how this plays out.
Well, she's taking on this whole thing. Things were marked, classified. That's where she's taking her entire shingle.
Judge, always great insights from you. Thank you so much, Judge Napolitano. Amazon better watch.